Hi, Jane. I'm here with Dr. Matthew Cordaro here. We're going to talk about oil. Matthew, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. Good to see you, Al.
You know, last time you were on the show, you gave us a little predictions, and you were spot on the price of oil.
Yes, it seems so. Indeed, the price of oil has gone down into the 20s, but I believe we've bottomed out, and we're seeing signs of it. The oil markets bottoming out. And there's a lot of activity underway by the oil producers right now to try to cooperate and cut back on their output so that they can drive prices out. There's a little squabbling going on, and it seems that at least 4 of the countries are willing to do it if the other countries want to also cut back. But it seems that Iran and Iraq are quite reluctant to cut back on pumping. And it's also a little bit unfortunate that the amount that is being talked about as far as frozen output is still very, very high on historical standards. So it's going to take some time. But I think once they get their act together, and this is a sign that indeed they are getting their act together, that we're going to see the price slowly rise to between $40 and $50 by the end of the year, by the end of 2016. And that's pretty much consistent with what I predicted the last time I was here.
Out of Washington, D.C., they're talking about getting rid of the Muni Bond tax exempt. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, that's very disconcerting, actually, the fact that there is serious talk in Washington about taking away the tax-exempt benefit from municipal bonds. For 200 years, governments, the state government, local governments, as well as public power, which is a particular concern of mine, have been depending on municipal bonds, tax-exempt municipal bonds, to fund their activities. Now, this removing that would, I think, be a negative, definitely a negative. All it does is shift the problem from federal budget concerns to local budget concerns. And in the process would hurt these governmental entities and public power. And it turns out that public power represents really a very significant portion of the electric supply in the country. And indeed, if this takes place, it's going to inhibit their ability to finance power generation projects, security projects, safety, emissions, and will hamper their efforts to put things in place to deal with the Clean Air Act pressures that we're seeing today. I think it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea.
I agree, and if they do that, I mean, they're going to have to get the funds somewhere, so they just have to pass it along to the consumer, correct?
Yes. The unfortunate thing is the public power entities don't have stockholders. Their charter doesn't allow equity investment. And so all their funds are derived from what they can borrow and ultimately supported by the ratepayer. So any increase in cost immediately goes to the ratepayer.
It never fails. You know, we hear a lot about the electric wire infrastructure, but you know, we don't talk about the gas infrastructure, which is just as critical. Those pipelines that crisscross the country, what kind of shape are they in? Do they need to be looked at?
Yes, they do. It's actually very, very important. The headlines lately, because of discoveries and technological improvement, have been about the very low cost of natural gas historically. And that's true, but what seems to be lost in all the attention to natural gas is the fact that it's still very difficult to distribute or transport that gas to where it's needed, particularly in the Northeast. Now, there are efforts to correct that, a number of pipeline proposals concentrating in the Northeast, but these pipeline proposals are seeing significant public opposition. And that's delaying them and will potentially result in increased costs for us. You know, in fact, you know, the distribution and transmission is so congested that during significant winter weather, a lot of the power plants that burn natural gas to produce clean energy have to be curtailed and have to switch to another fuel. So it becomes definitely quite a concern. I think the agencies that are responsible for permitting and authorizing these pipelines need to accelerate their efforts. And I think by balancing the concerns of the public and their opposition to this with the benefits associated with having readily available gas distribution or gas supply, I think that would go a long way towards solving or dealing with the problem and easing up the congestion that exists in the Northeast.
Matthew, Keystone, will that ever come to fruition?
I know that it's being challenged, the U.S. action against Keystone. I really don't know. If indeed it does take place or happens, it will probably happen under a new president. But we have to wait and see what the success of the court action that's being brought against the denial of the pipeline.
Dr. Matthew Cordaro, thank you so much.